Hello everyone, Marjorie Roman here, and we have the amazing rentalpreneur, the one and only rentalpreneur, Tijani. How are you doing,
I'm doing
TJ?
great. I'm doing great. Appreciate y'all tapping in. How y'all doing? How y'all doing?
And we're super excited for today's topic because most businesses, they usually run on an LLC.
Yeah.
But what about short-term rentals? What are some of the benefits that you would have from having an LLC to own your properties?
So a lot of hosts right now don't even rent under an LLC.
Oh, wow.
When they do the deals, they don't operate under an LLC. But these are folks that not really doing it like they don't see it as a business, right? There are very, very important reasons to have an LLC. Now, there's a saying that goes, if you treat your business like a business, it's going to pay you like a business.
Ooh,
If you treat it like a hobby,
it's going to pay
it's
you.
going to cost you
Oh,
like a hobby does.
oof. No, we don't
So
want that.
we want to make sure that we treat our businesses like businesses and we run them as such. Part of that is making sure that you operate under an entity, under an LLC. For one, when you're operating this business, say you're doing rental arbitrage, no matter really, don't matter what strategy, but rental arbitrage specifically, say you're doing rental arbitrage and you have a name on a lease. Even if you co-host, you still have to have an agreement with that landlord. You have your name on that agreement. If it's your personal name, understand that anything regarding that business is tied to you. Say a guest decides to hold you liable for something. Whatever they decide to hold you liable for, whatever name is on that lease agreement is what's exposed. And so if you have your personal name, everything tied to you, all your personal assets, everything tied to you is up for grabs. So this is why you want to make sure that you operate under a business that is secluded and that you have actually removed yourself from. And this is not a business that owns anything. This is not a business that owns any real estate. This is also not a business that conducts other businesses. This is a business that is solely dedicated to your short-term rental business. And that is now your operations company. That is the base, that is the name on the checks, that's the name that signs the leases. So that is your business. Another reason you got to understand, like if you're a landlord and you qualify me to rent your property, and say I want to rent it in a traditional sense, and you qualify my personal credit, my background check, and I'm told you I'm living there, and you qualify me, cool, and I get approved. If I then lease it to somebody else and say, oh no, you can stay there, that's by definition that's subleasing. And it's not good to sublease because guess what? You didn't qualify that person. You qualified me. So that's subleasing. And that's why it's really, really frowned upon. Now, say I rented it under a business. It's understood that that business can't stay there. Somebody's going to be staying on behalf of the business. And that owner, landlord, is renting out to your business, trusting that you want your business to succeed. So you're going to make sure that the right person is staying there, because if you're not winning, he's not winning, and y'all need each other to win. So this is why, another reason why it's very, very good to rent it under a business for sure.
And I feel like also when you mentioned about LLCs and how it protects you, it also allows you to kind of like separate you from the side of your business, if that makes sense. But you also mentioned that you only have an LLC that is only dedicated to your short-term rentals. So do you have one per unit, or do you have one for all the portfolio
Great
of short-term
question.
rentals that you have?
Good question. We right now have one for all of our portfolios because understand it's not owning anything. It's not owning anything. So we just have one that just manages all of our portfolio. But that's a conversation that we're actually having with our attorneys, with legal and our CPAs to see, hey, is it worth getting another one? Because we're scaling, and is it okay if we have this many under one, or is it worth maybe getting another unit? That way we're kind of spreading out the risk a little bit. Maybe it's perfectly fine. Maybe it's not worth it. But these are kind of conversations we're starting to have right now that are very important.
Are there any disadvantages if you were to have an LLC to manage all of these properties?
No, I mean, not that I can think of, except the risk factor. I mean, these properties, if it's strictly for arbitrage, I don't necessarily see the risk because you're not owning anything. They can't come after something you don't own. Now, say you say that same LLC owns a piece of real estate, and then you're using that same LLC to manage your short-term rentals. Now you're at risk because if something happens, that real estate is up for grabs.
That's right. If anything, I feel like in the case of an LLC, there's just a couple of costs that you would have to pay so that way you can set up that LLC. But I don't see any negatives on having that as the way to manage your business. Am I
Yeah,
right?
yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, it's going to cost you to manage your LLC, and that's one of the things that it's so important that in our coaching program, we have legal services that supports all of our students. They get a free consultation call with them to go over their business and strategize from a legal perspective and an accounting perspective as well, to make sure that their books are kept. Because remember, I don't want my students making the same mistakes I did. So I'm putting them in position to make sure that from a credibility perspective, that they have the right credibility, that they're having the right systems, and they're starting with the right foundation from an entity perspective, a legal perspective, as well as an accounting and bookkeeping perspective as well. They get a free consultation call with that attorney and CPA, as well as they make them a free LLC. Because I ask my students, I say, do you have a dedicated LLC for your business yet or no? And they say, no. Okay, great, no problem. We're going to help you create one, because I want you to do this the right way. We're not putting under your business. And a lot of times when I ask them, they'll say, oh yeah, I got an LLC. And so, oh, do you currently use it? Yeah, I have an LLC. I use it for my this and this
Oh
business.
no.
Oh, I have an LLC. Like, yeah, no, that's not
No,
going to
no,
work.
no, that's not gonna
And so I
work.
can't use that one. No, you need a totally separate LLC. Which is one of the great things about our program is that now we set them up and we create the LLC pretty much for free. They have to pay the small state fees, which is like a couple $100s to the state, maybe like $300, $200, something like that. And that's all they would have to worry about. So we hook them up with an LLC and we structure it the right way. We let them know based on their situation, like, hey, let's make sure it's an LLC. Hey, at this point, we're going to move it to an S Corp, a C Corp, whatever the case may be, to make sure that they're really maximizing their tax savings for sure.
And again, with an LLC, I feel like that's just a little bit of an investment that you're doing to make sure that your business does succeed in the long run. Because you may be starting with just one unit right now, but that doesn't mean that you're not going to have hundreds of units later on.
Absolutely.
Now, what are some of the requirements that you needed to fulfill to have that LLC?
No requirements. Anybody can really create one. You really just have to make sure that the name is available, whatever name you have. And I'll say, for this business, especially if you're going to use this LLC to help you get some like business funding and stuff like that, try not to have a name that's going to be so synopsis to like hotels or real estate per se, right? You want to kind of keep it to where it's not triggering for them, because a lot of certain businesses just have a hard time getting funded because they view it as more risky.
Oh, wow.
So you want to kind of the name kind of matters. How you classify the entity matters too. So we always recommend classifying like general consulting, right? Don't say like, oh, I'm in real estate or I'm in hospitality. If you might have a hard time getting funded, so we just say like we're general consulting. And keep it general helps you out a lot. But that's if like funding is something that you're worried about as well. And if you're going to be a business. Get that email address. Don't have a regular Google email address. Get that email address with your name and your company. Get that G Suite account. It's not expensive. It's cheap to get that. Have a business phone number. Right. These are all things that's going to help you get business credit and help you get qualified, because now you're actually looked at as operating as a legit business. Remember, if you treat your business like a business, it's going to pay you like a business. If you treat it like a business, more opportunities come.
That's right.
If this is just a hobby to you, you're not structured properly. It's not just you're going to make less money, but you're going to miss out on so many other opportunities. It's going to cost you like a hobby.
That's right. Later on, all of those costs are just going to add up.
Absolutely.
And you're going to have to come out of pocket with all of them. Now, when it comes to managing all of your properties, is there any other way that you've seen other people do besides an LLC?
Yeah, you'll see people. I wouldn't recommend it. I'd recommend an LLC 100%. But then you'll see people that just rent it under their names. If you want to do that, which a lot of hosts still rent under their names, they're just not protected. But I recommend I treat it as like if you own the real estate under your personal name, because you can own real estate in your personal name, or you can own it in an LLC. If you own it in your personal name, then just get an umbrella policy for your insurance. Like get that overall arching policy for your business, an umbrella policy, because you should be protected. You should have a short-term rental insurance policy. So on top of that, have an umbrella policy.
And what is that umbrella policy
An umbrella policy kind of covers your entire business. So say I have 10 units, right? I have short-term rental insurance for each one. Yes, that's the insurance for that property. Then I'm gonna get an overall umbrella policy to cover my entire business. That's gonna be another insurance. So something happens, you get sued, then they have to kind of pierce the veil of like, all right, the insurance that you have, but now that it's your name and everything exposed to your name, it'll be a good idea to have that umbrella policy, because now that's another layer that they have to get through to even get to your personal name. So,
Gotcha.
so I recommend, if you're gonna do it under your personal name, just get an umbrella policy for your business.
And what is the way that you use then for protecting your assets? Do you have your LLC then set up? And would you say that that has been the best decision ever?
Oh yeah, having an LLC is the best decision ever, and understand, like, we use LLC, so, and there's a separation of church and state
Love it.
between like my real estate that I own. That's its own LLC. That's a Texas LLC, because if I own real estate in Texas, the LLC that owns it has to be from Texas. So that's a Texas LLC. Then I have my short-term rental entity as well, that LLC. So there's two totally separate entities, and this is how we protect ourselves. Now, this is important. We also arbitrage from ourselves.
Oh, wow.
So we have a lease agreement to where my management company pays my holding company that owns the LLC, that owns the real estate, rent every month, because this management company is renting it from this landlord, which is the LLC, right? And so just like if you're a landlord and I want to rent your property out to make it a short-term rental, pretend like it's your property and you own it under an LLC. I'm renting it from you, but that's still my property. It's my LLC. So I rent it from myself.
That's interesting. But
You know what
at
I'm
the
saying?
same time, it does create all of those layers of protection that you
Yes,
always
it's not, I mean, it's beyond, we do it for multiple reasons, but we definitely do it to keep everything clean, right? And at the end of the day, when you arbitrage from yourself, you're protecting yourself in multiple ways. For one, you want to make sure that you keep everything separate. People don't really necessarily think about an exit in mind. See, I'm building a business that's sellable. Right, I'm building a business that I could exit in the future if I wanted to. But if everything's all tied in, now my LLC is managing this company and this company and this all, and even if I own the real estate and I don't have an LLC that separating the two from my management company and now you're not structured properly, right? So now you're potentially harming yourself from a crazy payout in the future just because you don't want to put things in place now. And so another thing that's very important. Another reason that's very important is because we protect ourselves from, and I did a video about this on my Instagram too, but we protect ourselves from people that want to squat on our properties.
Oh.
So people can rent your property out, because certain states, depending on the state, you can have short-term rentals are defined by 14 days or less, some are 29 days or less. And then sometimes it might depend on if they got mail delivered there, right? If they actually paid a utility bill to contribute to the utilities, or if they paid a payment towards the actual mortgage itself, then that can make them claim what's called tenant rights. And now you have to, in order to get them out, you have to evict them, right? But say you rent it from yourself. Now you can say that, hey, they're not the tenant. This is the tenant, and that's your entity. Now they're just a guest and they're trespassing. And you can get them out a whole lot quicker.
That's right.
So
Because
that's
the law
another
would be
layer of
on your
protection.
side at that point.
Yes, because I'm leasing it from myself. I'm the tenant. I'm my own
You're
tenant.
the tenant, you're the landlord, you're also the management company.
Facts. That's true.
And I feel like also that gives an amazing exit strategy for all our audience right there. If you were looking for, let's say, keeping all the real estate side of things, but you don't want to do the managing. You could easily sell that part of the business.
Absolutely. And still keep the real estate.
Exactly. And still keep the big profits of the real estate.
Absolutely.
Well. Awesome. Are there any other tips that you could give someone that is looking to get an LLC for their short-term rental property?
I reiterated it earlier. Just make sure that your entity is not tied to anything. A lot of people want to say, oh, I have an LLC. I'm going to just use that LLC. Don't do that. Use an LLC that is totally separate, that is not operating anything else. An LLC that is also not owning anything else. And protect yourself. Make sure you get the right insurance policy. Remember, If you treat your business like a business, it's going to pay you like a business. If you treat your business like a hobby, it's going to cost you like a hobby. And that's just true facts.
Thank you so much again, TJ. And thank you to our audience for listening to us in this podcast. Stay tuned for the next episode and go out there and get your LLC so you can be protected for your short-term rental business. We'll see you on the next episode. Bye-bye.